Hi, everybody. Welcome to Face to Face. Glad you're here. And this is one lady that I have been talking to for a lot of years to say, you got to come on my show, and schedules and this, and she's traveling, she's doing, and she's marketing. Finally, we got Kay Douglas, the president and CEO of Douglas Marketing. Welcome.
Thanks, Sean. Glad to be here.
What a story you have. So let's just go back in time, where you grew up, and a little bit about Kay, and obviously your education we'd like to mention too.
Sure. Born and raised Windsor. Lived here all my life. Went to school, grew up in South Windsor. Went to school at Massey, where I got involved really early with art. Mr. Baring was one of my teachers who really influenced that. Went into banking after that, and once I was doing banking for a while, realized that I needed to go back to school.
As a marketing person, you know banking is very boring.
Well, you know what? It has its qualities in keeping us on track with budgets, and so really a left brain function for sure, but a good one to have as a skill ongoing. So have always been an artist, went into banking and decided that I needed to go back to school. And originally I was going back to school for advertising and marketing to market my own artwork because I was touring provincially.
What kind of artwork did you do?
Fine art, mixed media, watercolor acrylic, and charcoal, conte, mixed, abstract generally, but some realism. And I went back to St. Clair College. Loved St. Clair College. I went back at 30 and just really embraced the advertising marketing program, of which today in my business, I would say 80% of all the people I employ are graduates of St. Clair College. Yeah, it's the best program for advertising and marketing as far as I'm concerned anywhere.
Some teachers that stood out to you?
Well, I had George Bowman at the time. He's since passed away, but he was a big influence on me. George told me right from the beginning that be versatile. Know as much as what you can about the industry, and that the more you know, the more you'll be able to integrate for your clients. Sandy Wheeland was top marketing at the time. Dan Watts was there. Wow. Susan Davies, who was my media teacher. Nice. Really a tough teacher.
Still there.
Yeah, really tough teacher, but really smart. So I went back to school for advertising, and what I found was I loved advertising. And at the time, I mentioned to one of my teachers that I think that I'm going to go in advertising, but I'm going to integrate art with it. And I was told, you know what, I don't know that you can do that. You might have to choose between one or the other. So being who I am, when I graduated and went into the field, realized that there wasn't a lot of that happening, I decided to start my own company.
Sure. What was the name of it?
At the time, my partner was Nancy Brockenshire, who was also a fellow St. Clair student, and we partnered to start the company Douglas Brockenshire and Associates. Wow. And we did that. We made an agreement we would do that for 5 years together, and that at that time we would look at it and say either we'd have a really great portfolio moving forward, or we'd have a company that we wanted to move forward.
So that's kind of neat going at it from a business point of view, that you even said, look, let's stop in 5 years and reassess, instead of doing these marriages of businesses that sometimes don't work or work really well.
Yeah.
That's pretty progressive.
Yeah. So Nancy, at about 4.5 years, said, this is your passion. It's not necessarily mine, and I want to go on to other things. Mm-hmm. And she went on to do that. And I don't know how many people can say that was my partner and we're still the best of friends. Nice. Because we are today. Yeah. In fact, Nancy's on my board of advisors for the company today, and she's at the Cancer Center as a program manager. So she's doing good work in the community.
Wonderful.
So started in 91 and celebrated our 25th last year.
Isn't that great?
I know, amazing.
And obviously, too, as starting your first 5 years, 2 ladies and 2 women, being a president, CEO of a company like yours. As I say, more women are doing it. More women are even running colleges now, I hear.
I think it's fabulous.
But so when you look at creating and what you do, what is just some hands-on help for those that are watching that run businesses and everything? What's the most important thing in a marketing of a business, company, or campaign?
Well, in marketing, I think having your key messages, what you stand for, what you believe in, and what the deliverable. What are you bringing to the world that another company might not be? We're a marketing firm, but we're different than other marketing firms because of our U.S. Canadian outreach and because of the way we approach things. But one of the things I think is key for any business is that to recognize that at the end of the day, a business is run by people, and we all end up doing business with people we know, like, and trust.
Sure.
So my suggestion to most companies is, how are you going to package that for yourself to become the company people know, like, and trust? So you got to get your message out there. You got to make it something that people are going to want to deal with, and you have to be trustworthy. And for me, that means being involved in the community, taking outreach, and standing for your word.
And it's so true. And you are involved in the community. You're doing a lot. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the scope of your company, what you do, and some of your clients and campaigns that you're presently working on.
Sure. Well, as I said, we've been around 25 years, so we're in a lot of sectors, and we're in healthcare sector, education, manufacturing, food services. So some of the clients we have the pleasure that we're doing campaigns with right now are Victorian Order nurses. We help them roll out all of their services and offerings, as well as a campaign that we're just launching next week with Canadian Mental Health Association for awareness to mental illness and In Your Souls? The Soul Focus Project.
Soul Focus Project.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So, and in that case, some of the service we do with those clients, as well as most that we work with, is we integrate campaigns fully, where we look for strategic partners within the community. We do everything from the brand development, the campaign theme development, and how that gets rolled out, both online and offline. Some of the clients we're working with that we're on both sides of the border is we do Cirque du Soleil's PR when they're in town. So we do both the Canadian side and the U.S. We have worked with companies like Henry Ford Hospital, Brighton Hospital for substance and alcohol abuse. And on the Canadian side, we work with Windsor Regional Hospital for projects, as well as Hotel Dieu Grace. And over the 25 years,
Center.
John, the Cancer Center, we did the It's in Your Genes campaign for them, which we've rolled out in an international way for them too.
So ideas, marketing, concepts, and all that doesn't really matter what border you're on, whether your offices are in Detroit or clients are in Detroit or here in Windsor, Ontario, or Canada and everything like that. So how is it marketing as a Canadian company? How has it been marketing to the Michigan area and doing all that? Has it been difficult? Is it accepting?
Well, good question. What happened to me in 2002 was that I was fortunate enough to become involved with Executive Women's International, the Detroit-Windsor chapter, and my first meeting, I heard Paula Blanchard, former First Lady of Michigan, speak.
Jim Blanchard's wife?
Ex-wife, and she talked about the qualities of women in business and how instrumental that was in leadership. And I followed up, did a call with her, and told her how much she had influenced me. And I asked her to come over to Windsor for lunch. And we sat and looked at the view, much like we do from St. Clair College. And we affiliated in 2002. She had a PR firm, and I had a communications firm. Nice. And we decided that together we could offer a real U.S.-Canadian advantage for our clients. So we affiliated in 2002, and I learned a lot from Paula. She was a brilliant media person, so all of my training in PR, key messaging, all that I learned from her. Wonderful. And she's retired since. She's in Naples, but having someone mentor you and walk you into the U.S. market of her stature and brilliance really made it really helped bridge some of the relationships I needed to. We've had an office there since 2005, so we do have a U.S. office as well.
Sure. So that opens the door, obviously, for other Windsor, Essex County growers, and you think of all the international talk right now of things getting over the border and everything, puts you in a good stead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. And having an understanding of both those markets, it is a river that divides us, and we are really close. We both speak English, but the U.S. market have really different motivating factors than the Canadian market does. So we've been able to create a real specialty in knowing the difference between that, and we have a really large network. The advantage of never leaving Windsor is that our network is both Detroit and Windsor, and we're linked to a lot of people.
One of the campaigns, I think, in Your Jeans campaign, I think has touched a lot of people for a lot of years. How did the inception of that campaign up till today, the amount of money, who was involved at the beginning? Let's just share a little bit about that.
Okay, well, the Cancer Center, that was the third campaign we had done for them. We had done the Dreamweaver campaign and then a Field of Dreams campaign. And when the It's in Your Jeans campaign came on board, I had the pleasure right from the beginning to work with Norma Brockenshire, who was the most stellar fund development person I've ever seen in my life. And Norma had the campaign. There was another campaign that was happening, and we worked with David Musey and the team over at the Cancer Center. And they needed a campaign that was going to educate people on cancer and how it affected men, and prostate cancer in particular, but also they wanted to raise funds for the machine, the Da Vinci machine, as well as research. So we needed to come up with a campaign that really integrated everyday people, and to get people to see how cancer, there isn't anyone who's not touched by it, and to get gentlemen involved in awareness to that. Women traditionally influence a lot of behaviors, including purchasing or donations or whatnot. 86% of decisions are influenced by women in purchasing, but in healthcare it's 92%. So how could we get the message out to gentlemen? So when we developed the It's in Your Jeans campaign, the concept was sometimes you get to wear your jeans and you get to, you have to get down and get dirty and get work done, and other times you get to wear a tuxedo. But to get things done, this community of Windsor, Essex knows how to put their work boots on, get their jeans on, and make it happen. So we approached a lot of the leaders in the community and said, will you put your jeans on and showcase the need for awareness to prostate cancer? Because it was something that people didn't as readily openly talk about.
Exactly, until that. And then you got some real high-profile people
We
involved.
sure did, yeah. We went to, Dr. Morgan came on board, and we just went to every sector and said, will you help us get this message out to gentlemen in our community?
To get tested?
To get tested. So it was more count me in and check me out. And that if I can get tested, so can you young guys get out there and do it too. So kind of taking the stigma away from not talking about it, and the more we got people tested, the more positive results we would end up with.
So what was the results ongoing on that campaign, and
well,
how much money was raised?
Well, it was a marvelous campaign. The campaign was to raise $4 million in 2 years, and we raised 5.4 in less than 2 years, about 18 months. Community came on board in a big way. Campaigns, both grassroots type campaigns as well as large corporate donations came on board, and the ratio against what was put into it and what was raised was, I think it was 0.5 cents on the dollar to what they were able to bring in. The really great part about that campaign as well is that we have a software that we've developed that you can put a full advertising campaign into, and what we've done is we took that whole campaign, put it into the software, and we actually took it to Michigan and resold the campaign, which raised money again for the Cancer Center Foundation.
Another generation.
Yeah, and they're going out.
So those Canadian genes are helping the American genes.
That's right.
All right. More with Kate Douglas. Over 25 years is Douglas marketing and doing a lot in our community. Going to talk about some of the things, the schmoozing and all the things you see her at. And boy, oh boy, sometimes I think my schedule's busy, but every time I'm at a thing, she's there. More with Kate Douglas right after this. Hi, welcome back to Face to Face with Kate Douglas, Douglas Marketing, over 25 years. As a lady, in the community, running a business like this, you got to look at, because we all get invitations, there's a lot of gals, there's a lot of dinners and fundraisers and things. You seem to really be engaged with the community and being a part of giving back, whether it's your talent, your abilities that you have. So let's talk about some of that. Congratulations. 2014, I think you won the Athena Award.
I did. Thank you.
And what a special award that is for a woman to win. So let's talk about that with the winning of the Athena Award.
Well, I guess it's one of the first times in my life I was totally almost speechless. And I don't think there's anything more humbling than being recognized by your peers, because going out and building a regional position or networking or growing a business, your first initiative isn't for recognition. So a lot of the things you recognize for the Athena is the things you've done in community, and I love our community.
Sure.
So getting involved was just a natural for us.
So where do we see you in probably a 6-month period? You're doing things with the chamber, you're doing things with some, U.S. women's group and U.S. Canadian executives. So tell us a little bit some of the things in your calendar.
Oh, of what's coming up. Oh, goodness.
That you're a part of, that you're a member of.
Well, a lot of things. So we just look at where's the best way where we can do outreach. So some of the things that we've done recently was the involvement that we would have done with some of the accounts we're working with a Soul Focus project. We've been instrumental in getting that out to the community, and we'll be at the launch for that. I'd love to be a part of some of the things we're doing for the 50th St. Clair College as alumni of distinction.
That's one thing I thought I'd throw in. People think I always bring these things up, but you won alumni distinction.
I did.
Were one of the
one of my proudest days.
It's in the 50 years of the college. We've got about 100 or so alumni who've been honored, and you were honored a few years ago. So
absolutely. So the 50th anniversary there, I'd love to be involved in any way I can to get the word out about that. Yep. And we're on, like I said, I'm on both sides of the border, so I'm involved in a lot of things on the U.S. side as well. I'm on the Community Foundation's board of directors, as well as I work with Executive Women's International. I'm a corporate sponsor there, and I'm also a certified woman-owned business international. So on the Canadian side and internationally, so I do a lot of activity around that. Some of the functions that we do for that and help promote women-owned businesses.
Right. So let's talk about other things. Is some of the new clients you've had. I guess one of the big successes has been this Wolfhead Brewery.
Yeah, they're doing great.
Aren't they unbelievable?
Yeah,
this
it's
is
been
really
fun.
I know you've worked with Walkerville and you've worked with like Viewpoint Winery,
yes.
But this Wolfhead's got a real buzz in the city about it. Tell us a little bit how you got engaged with them and what they've been doing.
Yeah, they are a success story, but they're also visionaries, just like Viewpoint was and Walkerville Brewery. And so the team over at Wolfhead really was looking to make a footprint of being a distillery and also a destination. Yeah. So they have exceptional culinary there and some really key products they brought on board. So when we started with them, we were doing a lot of the branding around their labeling and positioning of that, as well as their website. And we did win an international award for some of the work that we've done with them as well. Yeah, but they've exceeded their expectations and are growing again.
So I got to ask you, if someone says, what is your favorite beverage, would you say Walkerville Breweries product or Wolfhead Distilleries or Viewpoint Wineries?
Well, I would say that they're all my favorites as it relates to a brand.
And you know how to recommend it.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. So let's go. One other thing, too, I think the piece of what you do is we can all talk about brands and that kind of thing, is the development that you have, which is pretty unique, of apps and things like this. Tell us a little bit about that you have as a research tool and what you've been doing.
Well, what we recognized, and this was really a gift out of the recession, what we recognized was that one of the key issues for anyone who's marketing, whether it's a not-for-profit, somebody building their brand from the ground up, was to have an integrated approach. So all of their marketing working together to push them out online and offline. In about 2008, we trademarked a proprietary process for doing that, and then we worked with government to bring in some funding to help us develop software that actually put our proprietary process in place called the Big Picture Landscape. And that lines up all of your marketing strategy, takes it off of its shelf, puts it into one place, and then each of those components gets tracked for a return on investment. So it's really key that people are keeping in check what they're doing, how they're doing it, and what in fact is bringing in revenue for them.
So when you're driving around Windsor, Essex, or you're on a plane somewhere, or a train, or seeing something come up, do you pick up the phone as Kay Douglas of Douglas Marketing and call a business, call an organization saying, you know, I saw your stuff, I just got to ask you, or can I give you some suggestions? Do you ever do that?
You know what? I can't say that I have, but what I have done is if I see something that's happening in the news and I'm keeping up on what's happening on someone who may be looking at a solution, looking for a solution, I have reached out to different companies who may be coming into the region, or a different positioning of it, or it's a little bit different for me, John. I love people. So what happens to me is I'm on the plane and I'm talking to somebody I'm sitting next to, and I end up finding out a lot about them because I love people and I'm interested in what they're doing. And through there, I end up with an introduction to someone.
Wow.
Or when I'm in Toronto, when we went into Toronto for the Women Own Conference, and that I think is too one of our proudest days, was I pitched a perfect pitch in Toronto against 400 other companies and ended up winning the whole thing of presenting our company. And when we were driving back to Windsor, Liz Frano, a graduate of St. Clair and my vice president, said to me, wow, was that ever amazing that we went in against 400 people, that you won the perfect pitch, and it was in Toronto. And I said, it's great we won, but what's even better is that we're an agency in Windsor that won. Nice. Because what it says is Windsor and Detroit are putting out talent that can hold its own in major markets like Toronto or New York.
For sure.
And for us to be winning that or international awards really says a lot about the talent that's right here, that's in our region, and that we can hold our own globally. That's pretty cool.
I'm sure in the 30 years that you've been experiencing marketing and promotion and advertising, that the makeup of your office on Walker Road there, just by the 401, you probably have job descriptions and specialists that you probably never knew about 10, 15, 20 years ago. So give us a rundown of kind of what some of the job duties and specialists that you have in those walls of Douglas Marketing.
It's interesting you'd ask that, because I was just talking about this the other day. Businesses and job descriptions that existed 25 years ago don't anymore, like typesetters or print houses or things like that. And evolution has been the key to success in our industry for sure. So some of the things we have today is whole integrated approaches. Some of the jobs that we have internally include, we have software developers, we have back-end developers and database developers, web programmers, social media strategists, and all of that integrating together into account directors that have to have a knowledge of how that all combines together. Wow. So it's pretty exciting. At one time, it was not fully in-house for us, but I realized that as a company, having all of those professionals work together is essential in giving our clients the best they can get pushed out for. So, sure. So some of the jobs are those things, online strategists, web development, PR, outreach, PR strategists, we got a great team. We're going on to 20 on the Canadian side.
Nice.
So we're a nice size agency that still is small enough to be intimate to understand our clients and know them personally, but can still reach out to a global marketplace.
So right now you have approximately how many clients you're working with right now?
Oh my gosh. I think active jobs in our office right now are around 50. Active jobs, and
those that have moved on, shall we say, you're probably still part of the family. You're keeping an eye on
absolutely.
things.
We may do a project for a client that we have one client. It's funny, one of our first clients that I hadn't seen in a while. Had always kept in touch with them, and you probably know Lauren Curtis. He does consulting in the HR related field, and he hadn't come back to us for a while. But I always kept in touch, and he said, "Okay, I never needed to again. We had enough of what we needed, but every time he needs to go to that next level of growth or development, we're back in meeting and strategizing, and actually we just brought him on board as our HR specialist for my team and some of the things we're doing. So he's become an integral.
So he's helping you, you helped him?
Exactly. Same thing with a lot of the companies we've worked with. Radix, before they just made their recent shift over, every time they had a growth and development of a product, we came on board to help them with that.
So because we talk here, you probably see the show, in 16 seasons we've been on, we try to figure out what we need to do in Windsor and Essex County. So what would your expertise, so don't send me a bill for asking, but Windsor, Essex, to put us on the map even better than we are right now, what do you see as the highlight, the brand of Windsor, Essex? When you say I'm from Windsor, Essex, how do you describe us?
I say that I'm blessed to be living in the most attractive area in North America. We sit on an international border that allows us to be an international region. If we position properly, that can be attractive to businesses coming here, talent coming here, as it relates to healthcare, education, manufacturing, all of those kind of things. So if there's one soapbox I've been on for about 20 years, it's the fact that we are an international region. We can outreach and we can have both those worlds working together for win-win situations. So if you asked me, what is the key feature that we have, is that we're truly Canadian in an international region that allows us to build relationships like none other. We have the busiest border in North America. We're building a Gordie Howe Bridge. We have a lot to celebrate.
And we've talked about it here on the show too, with what the Illich family are doing.
It's amazing.
And, from the insurance,
Little
Caesars,
Dan Gilbert,
and all he's been doing down there. What a revitalization of the Motown that we knew, and we held our breath a few times over, but what a wonderful, and the food, we want to get into food and how great our food is here, and on Jump the Border there too. On both sides of the border. So thank you, Kay Douglas, for all you do. Nice to see you at all events. So I'm going to how about I do this? I'm going to find out where you're going, so I don't need to go, and you can go, and then I'll go when you need to go.
Or we can go together.
We'll go together. How about that? So thank you, Kay Douglas, for all you've done and all your sharing, and again, all of the staff and the advisories you've been to the college and our students. We really appreciate that from St. Clair College too, and being a mentor to so many.
Happy to be here. Thank you for the work you do.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
It's a love fest. It's a love fest here on Thursday. Anyways, thank you. We'll see you next time on Face to Face.